Hey, welcome to the Street Shots Photography Podcast. This is Antonio, episode 118 for the end of March 2020. And this time I'm doing this on video as well. So I'm going to be trying to post both. I'm going to have a podcast, so I'm going to have audio only. And I'm putting this on YouTube and just starting up a visual podcast, like everybody else is doing, just doing what the world is doing. Basically, I got this camera set up. You notice I got two little accent lights like everybody's talking about putting in the background. I've got my studio stuff. I got Opie over here. If he wakes up, he might come and join. I'm not going to mention, of course I'm going to mention it. If I'm going to say I'm not going to mention it, it means I'm going to mention it. But we're all on lockdown. And we're pretty much all we've got are these videos and Zoom video conferences that we can do with our friends, and being locked down is probably the safest thing for everybody. And so I have not been out shooting for a while. It might be the same for a lot of you. I just wanted to talk. So last week, this is the main thing I want to talk about. So last weekend, this is Saturday, so a week ago today, a friend of mine, photographer, Robert Herman, and you might have heard this already from me, committed suicide. And he left a very just kind of cryptic note. I can't remember off the top of my head what it said, but it was something to the kin like, how can we live life, or how can we live alone? And I'll just give you some background to Robert. I met him in 2005. And we met as part of a group called a success team that was set up by the APA-NY, which is Advertising Photographers of America, but just a small group of photographers to get together, talk about the projects they're working on, and to help each other. And so I met Robert as part of that group, and we would meet for I can't remember how long we meet, certainly for a few hours, and we'd all get to talk about stuff. And I remember him being a very introverted person. My first impression was, this is going to be a little tough, trying to talk to him and get him to do stuff. You know that, when you're in a group of people and you can start scoping around and you're saying, okay, this one's a talker, and this one's got a lot of energy, and this one's going to sort of fade in the background. And sort of I put Robert in that category. Anyway, we would meet once a month, I think, and talk about what we were doing. And I remember Robert one of the things he wanted to do is really get into Photoshop at that point. I don't think we had Lightroom. I mean, we had Lightroom, but I think Photoshop was what he really wanted to spend time with. And I was very good at Photoshop. Part of the things that I would do to help him was to show him stuff or talk to him about computers and Photoshop and stuff like that. I think I spent some time with him in his apartment and did some one-on-one tutorials with him on Photoshop and Lightroom. Fast forward a bit, Robert had decided he wanted to make his book, which he's very well known for, called The New Yorkers. This is 2012 or 2011, and we needed a little video to put on Kickstarter so he could bankroll, or at least begin to bankroll, the publishing of the book. And so me and a friend helped make this video, and the Kickstarter was successful. It's a great book about New York, and it's the New York that I grew up in. So I was really happy to be part of his success in getting this published and making himself a name. After that book got published, his career went up. He went to SVA, taught masters in digital, a master's digital class. Then multiple speaking and world, sort of traveling around the world and going to different events and speaking about his street photography. He published a second book called The Phone Book, which was all stuff that he shot with his iPhone and Hipstamatic. And then was going to begin to work on his third book. I'll get to that in a second. late last year, he contacted me. He wanted to create a third book. Recently, he's been going to Italy a lot. He had a connection with Italy, made a lot of friends there, and I think he had traveled there a bunch of times. And he started to photograph, doing his street photography there, and he wanted to create a book called The Neapolitans. So he called me up, or we communicated, I can't remember how, and he asked me if I wanted to help him do another Kickstarter video because he needed to fund it. And I was like, okay. He started sending me all the stuff, and then he had planned a trip to Italy, and we talked before he went, and I gave him some suggestions about stuff to shoot or how to shoot it so that we could have B-roll and stuff like that for the video. He came back from the trip and he sent me the work, and we had it all in a Dropbox folder. So I was getting ready to edit, but at the beginning of the year, for me, things were getting a little overwhelming, and I won't get into that. A lot of personal stuff that was happening amongst work and life, and then the video to do with him was also adding to this burden on my shoulders. And I just woke up one morning and I realized I needed to be straight with him, that I couldn't be 100%. I couldn't give him 100% of my effort, myself, my being, because I wasn't able to do that with a bunch of the stuff I was doing on my own here for my own stuff. So I thought about this. I thought he's the kind of person I could talk to about this. And so I reached out to him and I said, Robert, look, I really want to do the video. And I was looking forward to it. It's just right now, my life is just things are a little too much right now. So I told him, I said, I can't offer you 100%. And I said, rather than lying to you or coming up with excuses why I'm not getting the job done or things are falling behind, I said, let me just tell you right now what's going on. And, I think you should find somebody else to help you with the video, because I can't right now do it. And I was really sad to say that to him, because I really wanted to do this video. I told him that, and he was cool. He appreciated me telling him the truth about what was going on. And I don't think there was any, I think he might have been disappointed, but I think he was cool with the fact that I had to stop and say, I can't do this, and just be honest with him. So a friend reaches out to me last Saturday, and he sees a Facebook thread, and it says something strange in it. It says Robert Herman is dead because he was alone. I didn't understand this, and my friend was asking, is it a translation issue? Because it was from someone from Italy, or someone whose native language was Italian, and I didn't know. And so I said, let me get back to you. I found the original thread that my friend had sent me, and I was reading down. It was a lot of people in Italy, and I saw the translations. A lot of them were "I'm sorry," or "my condolences," and stuff like that. And I finally found a photographer who I know through Facebook only, but knew Robert, and he had a link to a newspaper, and I went and clicked it, and it was a story about a man in downtown New York who killed himself, and his name was Robert Herman, age 64. He wrote a note and leapt out of a window. It was kind of unbelievable. I mean, the world is already turning into some surreal, not quite a nightmare, but a surreal situation. And then hearing this, that didn't make any sense. I want to bring this up. First of all, I never had interviewed him on Street Shots, and he was on my list, and I never got around to asking him to be on the show. And that's a loss, that we don't get to hear him. The links I'll put down in the show note descriptions and in the descriptions in YouTube. You'll be able to hear his own voice. I mean, I'll let him speak, and we could think about the conversations we could have had with him. I couldn't let this go by. I mean, the world has shifted. The world is changing. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens when we come out on the other end of this, and how things are going to change, and how am I going to change? What will I do to take in what's going on and what's happened to Robert and what's going on now outside, and use that in photography, in podcasting, in like, you know, cleaning up my space. Like, how is this going to just bring about something new? And I don't have any answer for that. And, you know, maybe a year from now I'll look back. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's longer, maybe it's shorter. Hopefully it's shorter, to see what is going to come of this period of time that we're going through, and how it's going to affect the photography that we take and the photography that I take, and how I talk to you guys, and will I change? You know, and sometimes I have to own up to the fact that sometimes things don't change. Go back right to the way things were. How to go inside and find that bit that can say, I'm not going to go this way anymore, I'm going to go this way. And, you know, to tie it back to Robert, I had seen this. You know, it's funny, I've only known him for a short period of time. I mean, it's, you know, 15 years. I still think is a short period of time. But to see where he came from, and I mean, I know he was inward facing a little bit, but, you know, he joined the group. He put himself out on Kickstarter, let's say 2 times, maybe 3 times. I don't know if his iPhone book was Kickstarted. It might have been. He would stand up in front of crowds. He would talk to people about how he felt and the conditions that he was in. He spoke about that. How can I take that in? How can I take in what Robert did, or how I saw him move from here to here, you know, and use that for myself? And how can we all do that? How can we decide to use this experience that's going on and make something different from our lives? And so anyway, I just want to offer that as something that I was thinking about, and I'd like to know what you guys think about this. And I like to keep the dialogue open, because I'm cooped up in this room by myself. My wife is next door. She's working as well. But the only way we're going to sort of tackle this kind of stuff is if we reach out and talk to each other together. And I think that maybe be the one thing that comes out of this, this whole mess, is that I think we're going to learn to communicate with each other better. I mean, it might be through this for a while, but somehow even this microphone and the cameras is better than nothing. And, you know, maybe we could take this and we transfer it outside and move out of our little inner circles, and see what happens. I just want to give an acknowledgement to Zack, Arias, whose videos I've been watching lately, and hearing, just hearing the stuff that he's going through and talking about, and encouragement. That I'm very encouraged and inspired by his work and his videos. And so I just wanted to acknowledge him and go watch his YouTube channel and see what he's doing, and see how he can inspire you as well. So anyway, I'm going to end it now. I've talked enough, and you know, maybe I'll do this in a week. Maybe I'll get this as a weekly thing going on. Maybe you'll see me clean my room. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for spending some time, you know. Subscribe if you're YouTube, you know, click on all the buttons or whatever, and listen to my podcast. Anyway, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later.